This is possibly the most versatile laptop to exist. The Flow X13 is meant to work in any desired configuration. You can use it as a regular laptop, as a tablet, in tent mode, or in stand mode for better sharing and a cooler gaming experience. Or just hook it up to an external GPU, keyboard, mouse, and monitor and enjoy some high-end gaming experience. And all of this while the X13 remains ultra-portable. This is probably something the closest to a notebook in weight than anything else that have ever called themselves a notebook in the past. It's a 13-inch ultrabook that is power-packed with Ryzen 9 5900HS and comes in 16 gigs and 32 gigs variant. Now this is an overpowered and obviously overpriced machine for daily use kind of work, like Microsoft Office, Zoom, Skype calls, watching videos, or streaming the web. This is overqualified for all of that. Obviously this is going to breeze through it, but this is actually cut for creative production or gaming, and we'll talk about that a little later. But first, let's talk about design. It's not more than two phones stacked together. The lid is extremely thin as well. You also get the ergo lift mechanism, but it is not as obvious as it is in some other ROG machines. Now, from an aesthetics point of view, this is not a head turner. I mean, it doesn't look like a laptop that you paid a hell lot of money for. With, like HP Spectre or Dell XPS, that they have a distinct premium look and feel. This one's like a dark horse, it's very low-key, it doesn't shout out too loud, but it does the job very damn well. Now, one very important thing that I'd like to cover in design is cooling. This lid, when it's open, sort of blocks some of the exhaust air, and at the same time, the low clearance at the bottom also reduces how much air can be sucked in. And I would really recommend that you actually place this on like a stand or something so that, it sucks in more air, there's more ventilation, and it just remains cool, and that way you get maximum performance out of this. And now let's talk about connectivity. The X13 has enough input-output ports to just about manage one of each kind. But most 13-inch laptops don't even have so many ports, so I'm pretty okay with this. I mean, my MacBook Pro has 2 Type-C ports and it's not even sorry about it. But the real highlight is the external GPU that connects to the Flow X13 using this interface right here, and expands the graphics capabilities as well as connectivity. Firstly, you can connect it very simply using this plug and then switch it to secure it, and after about 10 seconds of processing, it equips your X13 with a mobile RTX 3080 GPU, and at the same time charges your laptop as well. And definitely it extends your capabilities in terms of how many more devices or peripherals you can connect to, especially in terms of displays, and you can just plug in an Ethernet cable for high-speed internet. And this is what makes the Flow X13 a really versatile laptop. In addition to its 2-in-1 design, touchscreen capabilities, and its ultra-light form factor for high portability. Just one thing that I do want to highlight with respect to the external GPU is that here in India, I got something that needs a 15 ampere socket for me to power this, and that's not easy to find. I mean, even within my own house, forget about finding it somewhere outside. So yeah, that's just one of the things I wanted to highlight. Now, this can vary by region. So, it may not be the case in, let's say, US or Australia, but here in India, I got this, so that's something you might want to check. And now let's talk about the display. It's 13 inches and it comes in 2 variants, one with 4K resolution and the other is FHD Plus rocking at 120Hz. 4K monitor has better and wider color gamut, so it's better for creative professionals. 4K would also allow you to make more of that 13-inch screen estate. Everything would appear smaller, but definitely have more controls fitting in. And the Full HD resolution at 120Hz would be a better choice if you're a gamer and you're, wanting a smoother gaming experience. So, depending on what you really want or what you're looking for, you've got a choice. Now, the display is not quite as bright as I would have expected it to be. See, it's a portable laptop, right? And I would like to go outdoors or just take it somewhere outside and work, where, of course, the sun can be strong and you may not be able to view the display as easily. That's where high brightness counts. And this is capped at about 290 nits, which is average. I mean, if I'm paying north of $1,500, where brands like Dell with their XPS offer about 300 to 400 nits, those are really nice. So hopefully Asus with their next gen could do better at that. Now, it's important to note that this is a 16:10 aspect ratio, so there's more vertical height, which is a little different from conventional 16:9 widescreen displays. And it's not a bad thing, it just gives you more space to work with, especially when you're using video editing tools like Premiere Pro. So you've got just more area and more of your workflow components or workflow tools or controls can fit in, and actually it's better. Now, the display colors right out of the box may be good for gaming, but not for creative production work. So highly recommend that you get a screen color calibrator. They're expensive, so you might just want to go to a store and get it tweaked to your liking. And then this is going to work really well. All right, let's talk about the keyboard. It's good. It's not super, but there's really nothing you can complain about. It's quieter than most keyboards, and the sound is pretty sweet. And this keyboard is actually equivalent to a 15-inch keyboard, so it's stretched edge to edge, giving you a more comfortable experience while typing. Also, the keyboard is white backlit, not RGB. The only sore point could be the trackpad. It's small, especially if I want to use it as a daily laptop. So the keys at the top could have actually been removed, and that vertical space could have been used to increase the size of the trackpad for a more convenient use. Now let's talk about the speakers. They're okay. If there's like a slight bit of noise around you, you're gonna have a difficult time listening or focusing on, like, let's say you're watching a video or music, and definitely have a pretty tough time if you're on a video call with no earphones, just the speakers. But yeah, if you're sitting in a room with 1 or 2 people on the side, like in a quiet room, for example, a conference room or a classroom, you'll be fine for most things. So it's not the loudest, but it's pretty clear, and the stereo separation is on point. Now let's talk about some real use and performance. As I said earlier, if you're into creative production, more of a content creator, then get yourself the 4K display variant, especially if you want to do some on-the-go work. 4K displays are able to accommodate more of your complex workflow tools and has a better color coverage. Talking about performance, you can use this machine as it is without an external GPU for most illustration and graphic design work, like, on Illustrator, Lightroom, Photoshop, because they're more CPU intensive. And this one is just great with that, it has the Ryzen 9 5900HS. And it really depends on how complex your workflow can get. Also, you get to choose between 16 or 32 gigs up front. The RAM is soldered, you can't change later. Now for video editors, you won't need an external GPU if you plan for simple video editing. But if you want to work with 4K footage, After Effects, Premiere Pro transitions, you may require an external GPU. Now the variant that I have here has a 1650 GPU baked right into it. And without even connecting an external GPU, I can pull off a few games. In fact, I tried playing Valorant without connecting a GPU. And trust me, even at 4K, it was playing smoothly, no issues whatsoever. But then of course, if you want even better gaming experience, in that case, you can definitely connect the external GPU, and it does a couple of things for you. Number one, it keeps your laptop cool because the GPU handling is done all outside. And you can hook it up to gaming monitors that have much higher refresh rates. And then I went on and tried Call of Duty, and if you see, I've pushed everything to its max capability. And so everything is either on unlimited or enabled or high or ultra, whatever is the maximum possible, I've done that. And if you see on the right side, the VRAM usage, it's still got plenty room left. And despite pushing everything to its max potential, everything played super smoothly. Now in this case, I'm running 4K resolution that's native on the ROG Flow X13 variant that I have, so I'm capped at 60 Hz. And yeah, I'm getting consistent frame rates between 57 and 60 FPS, which is what I expected. So in terms of performance, an RTX 3080 mobile is just as good as a desktop RTX 3070, so that you can use as benchmark. But yes, it can get a little noisy, and here's what it sounds like. And hey, for an even better gaming experience, you can just hook it up to a 1440p or a Full HD monitor and drive higher frame rates. Of course, it has to be a gaming monitor that supports higher refresh rates, and that way you enjoy smoother gaming. So yeah, the flexibility is all yours. It depends on how much you already have, like if you already have a gaming monitor, or if you want to spend some money and make a setup. But hey, if you're anyway interested in better gaming than creative production work, might as well get yourself the FHD Plus variant, which has higher frame rates natively, and so you can enjoy better gaming right on the display that's built into the laptop. Okay, so how hot does this thing get? Well, it's pretty small, so it gets quite hot. And why not? It's trying to do a lot that bigger laptops or even desktops do, and they have a lot more cooling opportunities than this small thing does. And sure, you can attach an external GPU and that way shift the load, so heat is better managed. But if you're relying on the internal GPU, this gets unpleasantly hot. And as I said, the design does not really lend to very good cooling. The lid sort of blocks the exhaust over here. The intake over here is quite low. So yeah, it gets hot for sure. Yeah, what you can do is convert this into stand mode. That way you've got this open cooling and attach a Bluetooth keyboard, a mouse, game, and that way it's sort of better managed for sure, but something you've got to live with. And lastly, I want to talk about battery life. Now, I tend to stay on battery only if I'm doing regular day-to-day work, like Microsoft Office, a couple of calls, using Slack for communication, browsing the web, watching videos, that kind of stuff. And for that, this only lasted me about 6 hours on an average. And that's not a lot. I've seen other laptops give almost 9 to 10 hours for that kind of work. But yeah, this is a power-intensive, power-hungry laptop, so why not? But again, as I said, I only use it on battery for that kind of work. When I'm into creative production or if I'm gaming, I like to stay tethered to power, and that way it sort of runs at maximum performance. But hey, yeah, if you were to do any kind of intensive work on battery, that's going to drain it faster, and you're not going to get anywhere close to 5 hours. Somewhere probably between 1.5 to 2.5 hours is what I would suspect. But yeah, it's not the most battery efficient laptop. All right, that's it guys on the Flow X13. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification icon. I'll see you guys in the next one.